Hello everyone, I'm Nic Chamberlain and welcome to Southern Utah Interview. Today we have the privilege of being here with Lyman Whitaker, former candidate for the Utah House of Representatives for District 71. Mr. Whitaker, thank you for meeting with us today.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Whitaker, what made you want to get involved in the election this time around?
I had some really good luck with a little activism. The Toquap power plant was, scheduled to come online, and I got my neighbor, Lynn Alder, lived next door, and I went over to him. I said, we got to do something about it. And he had been working on it, but he'd run out of energy and time and money. And so I kind of picked it up from there, and we mounted a really active campaign involving all the children. My daughter was on television 4 times, and we took that from being a done deal. You know, they said don't even bother trying to stop this, to the last I heard they canceled their water contract. So I feel that I was instrumental in stopping that, and I thought that I would like to get a few ideas out there. And one idea in particular, I've had a really, which led me to Toquap, is I've had a real concern for global warming. And while everyone's heard about it, only half the people believe in it, and of those, only a few percent really understand the full weight of what's coming down the road. So those were a couple of my motivations for running.
I've noticed that things such as your political website, or your campaign website, and other promotional materials that I've read for your campaign read more like Thoreau than they do other politicians that I've heard from. Do you think that helped or harmed you in your campaign?
It always helps to remain true to yourself, regardless of the result. I really wouldn't know. I consider that a compliment, though.
Good, good. It's as far as, well, how closely do you identify yourself with the Democratic Party here in the county?
I don't identify myself. I try to stay away from identifying myself. I like to say that I am not a Democrat. I am affiliated with the Democratic Party, because I think one of the problems is people identify themselves with the party, and that means they are. It means their self is totally involved in it. That's why you get all this conflict, because people are too personal about it. I like to keep a little distance from it. I can still be a wonderful Democrat just being affiliated with them, and it keeps me from getting too angry.
As far as the purposes of your campaign, the history tells us that it is almost impossible as a Democrat to win in this county. Would you say that your campaign was more to teach people than it was to win, or did you actually have it in mind that you could beat Brad last? No,
I didn't have in mind that I could beat him. I knew the situation before I ran. But you can, by running, get your opponent to move a little bit your direction by putting things out there. Like even with the Toquap and the power plant, we got all the city council to change from supporting it to not supporting it, and the county commissioners all flip-flop too. So just by applying pressure, you can have a quite positive result, because my agenda is to get things done. It's not for me to personally be in office. In fact, I think it would be a lot of work, and I don't even know how well suited I would have been.
Were you surprised at all by the reaction that you got from business when you were trying to shut down their efforts?
Oh, Toquap?
Yeah.
I didn't really have much interaction with that. Most of it was quite positive. Most everyone was very interested in seeing that plant shut down. They're interested in their air. I mean, as they should be.
So Toquap made no efforts to stop you?
They still, you know, the thing still isn't dead. Oh yeah, they did a counter thing. They had their little counter rallies, and they hired a bunch of people to, you know, protest or balance our protests. But they didn't. There's not much really they could do.
What is your view, in more of a general sense, of the proper role of government?
You mean?
Well,
in general,
let me just give you more of a specific question. What's your view of the proper role of our state government here in Utah? How should they interact with citizens' lives?
Well, I actually liked your first question better.
Okay, good. Respond to either one. Either one.
It's always easier to stay in the general than
the specific.
I think obviously we need some glue as a society, you know. I think the role of government should be to, you know, they need to create and enforce a certain number of laws. They need to look out for, you know, some of the more vulnerable citizens. I mean, the roles are really vast. I probably don't have time to get into any more detail than that. As far as the state government goes, I mean, I guess that's just another level of the federal government. Generally, I like to live my life and not have too much interference. But on the other hand, I recognize, like, even this subdivision we live in, it's really pretty, it's really nice. People park their cars in their garage, you know, but there's a lot of limiting things that has enabled this to be a really pretty, really nice subdivision. So I think it's really a mixed bag. You gain something and you give up something.
What parts of the government would you grow, and which parts would you shrink that you've seen? Just an example.
I think the government can play a hand in wealth distribution. You know, I think people that work hard in business should be compensated. You know, they should get more, but they don't necessarily need to get 30, 50, 100 times more than an average worker. So I think the government can really be effective at redistributing wealth, and, you know, even like universal health care would be one way of distributing it. You know, there are a number of other ways. I'm not for total redistribution, but I think we're out of whack. Everything's a balance, and I think we've moved too far towards the rich and the poor. We've lost our middle class, and I think government can play a role in adjusting this.
Is there anything specific that you would do if you were in charge of the world, to any specific measures you would take to redistribute wealth?
Well, I think universal health care is a really good start. I think the tax system, you can put taxes on luxury items. There's a food, the way you tax food and not tax it, you know, is a good way, because let's see, what else? I don't know.
What do you think about President Obama's new approach to the financial system and just sort of the general direction that he's taking our economy right now?
Well, I think that there's a lot to be said for distributing, again, some of the money up and down, you know, across the spectrum. Now, banks think they're the only ones that can solve problems, that they have to start with the business class, and it's got to work down, trickle down. But, you know, I think that Americans definitely want to see some of the money go to everybody. So I think his balance is about right. As far as what's going to work or not, he doesn't know, and I don't know either. I mean, I probably don't think it will, but I don't think anything will. I think the problem is so immense. And, you know, economies are basically, everybody's involved in they're a dream of a sort, and we all dream them up. And that's why when people stop consuming, that's you know, they stop dreaming that dream.